publish it afterwards. So I kind of wanted to see what that was like. But all right. So we are not having this tomorrow. As a reminder, I will be going to go get my daughter from college tomorrow, so I won't make it. But I did do a little bit of writing yesterday for a couple of comedy things, and then today's topic is continuing along the lines of imposter syndrome. I thought yesterday it would be an interesting experiment to put yourself in the mindset of the person who has the worst imposter syndrome in the world. Because there has to be somebody that is the worst in the world, right? They have it terrible. And what would that life be like? Like, what would your life be like if it was the worst? And then the reason I was doing that was because I was like, well, it'd be interesting if think about how crazy that would be. And then look at any imposter syndrome you have and say, well, at least, almost like, well, at least I don't have that. And so, how bad could it get? Although that might be terrible advice, right? Because it could make you spiral out of control. And I did think actually part of this, part of going into this has been, at least with imposter syndrome, has been for me a little troubling, because the more I think about it, the more I feel like an imposter myself. And so it's been a little bit of a I'll be happy to move on to a new topic, I guess. And at the same time, I don't know if we helped solve anything for anybody, but for me, it's a tough topic. So
so you avoid the problem,
yeah,
by just moving on, or you fix the problem by just moving on.
Well, I would say I don't really feel like I have a lot of imposter syndrome to begin with. I mean, I do have some, and certainly there are times, it ebbs and flows for sure.
Yeah.
But talking about it as much as we have has made me feel, has made me, I guess I keep trying to put my mind into that mode of, well, when I do have imposter syndrome, what is it like, and even just for writing jokes about it, it has made, it makes it easier to write jokes about it because, oh, well, my imposter syndrome. Well, then that sort of almost like convinces me that I have it, or that that it's worse than it is. And then, start to, I guess, in some ways sort of spiral into a more significant imposter syndrome. And that's not really what I'm trying to achieve. So anyways, that's just my my kind of take on it. But anyways, if you had what would be if you had the worst imposter syndrome in the world, you were the worst patient, what do you think that would be like? What's one characteristic you would have?
What's one just trait that I would possess that would just, it would
what would life be like? I would wake up in the morning and the first thought would be, and then this not joking per se, although it's probably, but like literally put yourself in that mindset and go, okay, so you are the worst in the world. Right. And you wake up in the morning and you go, and it's just imposter syndrome, not depression, not anything else.
Right.
What would that be?
I think what would be present at all times of the day, from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, is anxiety, for sure. Because you're constantly thinking about, am I doing enough of a good job? Am I making the right decisions? Am I going in the right direction? Have I instilled faith and trust into the people around me that matter, right, to me in this situation? So the anxiety of constantly running those thoughts through your mind and trying to at the same time demonstrate that you're not who you're trying to convince yourself that you are, who you're going to be, or who you're trying to be, can be a vicious cycle. Yeah. I mean, it could be pretty eroding over time. I do believe that if you have imposter syndrome in comedy, the way I look at it is the imposter syndrome comes from the lack of confidence. So I think I possess the skill and possess the drive to sharpen the skill and learn the craft, but it's the confidence. The confidence is what leads to the imposter syndrome. And the way you build confidence is through the demonstration of being a comedian, right? So getting on stage, making people laugh, getting the outcome that you desire. That's what reaffirms your confidence. But the syndrome comes from the lack of confidence, but also what I believe, and I actually was reading a little bit about this yesterday after our last call yesterday, is that most people who have imposter syndrome actually outperform those who don't in that field. And the reason why is they're constantly pushing themselves, thinking they're trying to compensate for where they think they lack, but in reality, they are so worried about their performance, there are others around them that are intimidated by what they're capable of doing, which I thought was very interesting.
That is very interesting.
Yes. But I think socially, if that's where people struggle, for our listeners out there, if you catch yourself in a situation, say at a table with a group of people, and you start to lean back and start to criticize your behaviors, the way you talk, the way you laugh, the things that you say, maybe you don't think you're an interesting person, you have to recognize that those are only thoughts and that's not reality. It's not reality. And the way that you cultivate those social skills is through practice. And I can tell you what's helped me greatly is pursuing it can be a hobby, it can be a career, but pursuing the path of being a comedian is you have to get on the stage and it's just you, and you have to be yourself. You have to be authentic. You have to figure out who you are, which reinforces confidence over time because you know who you are, right? You're beginning to understand who you are. So yeah, that really resonated for me. And I hope that makes sense to all of you you need to catch yourself doing that, because that feeds into that imposter syndrome. Like, you don't belong. You shouldn't be doing this. You got lucky is how you got here, opposed to the hard work and sacrifices that most of people made to get where they're at today.
Yeah. All right. Well, I know you have a hard stop coming up here. Do you have any? We'll open it up to the open source comedy side of the world. Do you have anything written for today?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I'm actually building out my set for the upcoming showcase. Not completely there, but I will have some more material for everyone going forward. I do have a recommendation though. Is a couple of things. Is the owner of Stir Crazy Comedy in Glendale, Arizona, and Westgate. He runs a podcast. And his podcast is called Business of Comedy. And I haven't subscribed to it yet, but I've heard some good things about it. It's definitely a resource you could tap into to really get a better understanding of the industry. He is a club owner, and he also has other club owners as guests on his podcast that talk about kind of the business side of things, business of comedy.
I like it.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
I got one I want to run by you.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay, so yeah, I've got imposter syndrome. Mine comes in the form of my 7th grade PE teacher. That's the voice I hear when I'm being tormented by imposter syndrome. You're worthless. You're never going to amount to anything. Don't put your shirt on. Things like that. That's what I hear from my tormentor back, in the back of my head. And I went to therapy for this for a little bit, actually. And I told my therapist, I think I have imposter syndrome. And she said, Jerry, I want you to know that everybody has some form of that, big or small. She goes, even me as a licensed therapist have run into that, mostly because of the lawsuits, but just in general, I've run into it. And I said, whoa, but before we go any further, and I noticed you put air quotes around licensed therapist. Not exactly. Why would you put air quotes around licensed therapist? And she was like, look, this isn't about me, right? This isn't about me and my background. This is about you. We're talking about you. And I said, yeah, I don't want to talk about me or you. I want to talk about the air quotes and why those were there. Because, like either you don't know how air quotes work, or you do know how air quotes work. And, maybe you're not really a licensed therapist. And in that case, I would say, I feel like I need to tell you that I don't think you need to worry about the money that I have in the bank for the check that I wrote you, because I'm sure it'll be fine. And she said, well, Jerry, listen, if you write a check and you don't have money to cover the check, that's fraud. And I said, exactly. That's why I'm here in the first place. I feel like a fraud. There. Anyways, that's what I got.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Okay. May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you. I'll talk to you later, man.
All right. Have a great day.